Welcome to Big Up Peter Bauer. Those
Yeah.
of you out there watching probably know Peter from the Walkmen and his solo career as well. I'm here, Peter, to say hello, first of all, and then also to just talk to you about, your music and why you chose to make a label and help other artists. And so, really, with Big Up, I try to get out of the way and just let you talk. So, I guess my first question is
Are
you
you,
released some solo music pretty recently.
well, I put out like a single last year. I just mastered a record. Actually, I'm mastering a record today, kind of, going back and finishing it. So I'll start putting out more in the record this year at some point. So I'm really
Very cool.
excited to be done with that. Yeah, it's a big relief. Yeah.
And then my burning question, I believe your label is called Fortune Teller.
Yes, that's right. Absolutely. Well, so yeah, I mean, I've always put out records and I've always been a musician for whatever, however long, 20 something years, since I was an adult. And then maybe like 5 years ago, I started to manage bands, just like kind of fell into it with a friend who needed help, and then I started to manage this young band called Starcrawler, and then another young band. And so I was doing that, and it was great because being an indie musician is not like doesn't always pay the bills. So it was nice to be like in 10 bands, at the same time, um, and I realized I was okay. Did a good job at that. So when the pandemic happened and everyone stopped touring, I thought, well, I was going to have a lot more free time. So I put this label idea together because I had, it's really hard for even fantastic artists right now who are starting out to get like an actual record deal of any sort because it's just there's so few people that develop artists anymore. You can like count them on one hand, of labels with any meaning. So it was just a good place for either friends or people I was managing or just, kind of came across, didn't know how to work with exactly to be like, well, I also have this label. We can put things if it makes sense. And I think the great thing about it is like, there's like no strings attached, which even with like a lot of small indie labels now, they're like, yeah, we need to have an option on your record. And they're like, why should, these people just made this record. It took everything they could to make the record. It took 2 years and like any cash they had at all. And then they're like, you're holding the rights for the next 5 years or something like that. And so I thought that was crazy. So with fortune tellers, it's basically like, all right, we just do it, make an agreement on this record for, a certain amount of time and we put it out. And so that's how that started. It started, I had this artist named Caroline Kingsbury, who I think she's
Yeah,
you
we
know,
love her.
yeah, and so it's sort of with her, and then my another guy I work with named LaunchLeft. Um, they both had records they wanted to put out, and then my old friends in this band called Caveman, and they had a record they wanted to put out and kind of get them out of like a bad legal situation. So I did that. Just it's sort of just like friends and family deals, I would say.
I can
And
relate.
so yeah, and so I have like this year, I'm going to put my own records out on it, but then also I have an old friend named Mylan. I don't know if I think he's going to go by Mylan Leonard, but that's not really his last name. But I guess that's what he's going by. But he's a guy who's just had made such great music and has never really gotten to see the light of day anywhere. So I'm hoping I get to put out his records this year. He has like one old one and then a new one. And then just things like that, like things that kind of come across which you just don't, that they don't quite have a home today, but maybe they'll even have a home later somewhere else that like can really, not that I don't think we can put records out and like, make them go places really well, but that's the idea. It's just a sort of handshake deal, and let's see where we can take this. Yeah.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and I think there's something to be said for artists starting labels because they know what it's like, and you already expounded on, what it feels like to be an artist when you put your heart and soul and all your money into it, and then you also feel like you don't even still have the license of your own music for 7 years or something. It's like,
Yeah, I mean,
yeah,
well, more. I mean, like to just own the masters, or like you have to do
right,
another record with these people. I mean,
right,
it's like that's the hard part. It's just like it. You get trapped in these things that you can never get out of.
right.
And a lot of the times the people you're dealing with who may be very good natured people and, great in many ways, but like they don't understand. You had conversations where like, well, these people should own their masters on like a management side. They're like, why? And I'm well, because they made it, like, did you make it? Like, you just put some, it's just, that's a crazy thing to me that even like philosophically, people don't understand that, like, it's like you're discussing the very beginnings of how to make it deal with people, and it's,
Right.
that's just funny. I mean, and I don't think it's because they're like necessarily bad or, like, it's like they're being vindictive about it. So they just don't understand.
It's not accepted. Like the most accepted thing is you take the master and you own it.
Right.
You know what I mean? So for them, so like you said, it might not be ill intent or malice that they're doing. They're just like, that's not industry standard. But I appreciate you. We love disruptors in this space. We love artists getting in there, getting their hands dirty for the exact reason that, like, because the standards need to change. They just do. You know?
Do, and hopefully they are. I mean, I think it's much.
I think so.
It's much more democratized now with like what a label brings or what a management company brings or anything like that. I mean, there's really bad things about that too. I mean, just in terms of how hard it is for like middle class musicians to make a living is crazy. But it's at least things are changing, I guess.
Absolutely. Well, and you're a part of that change, so thank you for your efforts to that end. Do you still manage, and are you still interested in managing bands too? Oh, you do? Okay, cool. Yeah.
I mean, that's probably the majority of what I do is like,
okay.
I make music at night from like 10 p.m. onward, and and then, but other than that, I manage bands all day. I mean, labels and management is sort of the same thing. I don't know.
Well, thank you for your service, and
yeah.
Well, thank you for taking time out of your busy day moving and all the stuff you're working on mastering. We feel lucky to have the opportunity to speak with you, and I can't wait to connect again more on music and culture change. Woo!
Yeah, great to see you. Thank you so much.